Chapter 3. In the Launch. The launch was just 7 meters long, and there were 19 men in it. Captain Bligh sat at the back of the launch, and he looked at his men. The sides of the launch were only 30 centimeters above the sea. "Mr. Hall, look at our food, please," Bligh said. "Yes, sir." Bligh looked away over the sea. The Bounty was very far away now, but there was a small island, Tahiti, about 20 kilometers to the west. After some minutes, Mr. Hall, a young officer, said, "Sir, we have 150 kilos of bread, 2 kilos of meat, 6 bottles of rum, and 126 liters of water, sir." "Is that all?" Bligh asked. "We have a small sail and some coats, sir," Hall said. "That's all." "Thank you, Mr. Hall," Bligh said. "It's not much, but we are going to Tahiti, so perhaps we can find some more food and water there." Bligh was afraid, but he didn't want them to see that. The men were quiet. They didn't look angry. Next day, they landed at Tahiti. They found breadfruit, bananas and coconuts, but no water. A lot of islanders came down to the sea. "Where is your ship?" they asked. "It sank," Bligh said. "All our friends are dead. We need food and water." The islanders laughed. It was not a friendly laugh. They talked quietly. More men came. Soon there were nearly 100, and they began to pick up stones. "Get back into the boat," Bligh said. "Quickly now." But the islanders killed one man with stones. When the launch went out to sea, the islanders came after it in their canoes, and they threw more stones at the sailors. "Throw the coats into the sea," Bligh said. "Quick!" The islanders stopped and picked the coats out of the sea, and then the canoes went back to Tahiti. "We can't land on any islands then," Bligh said. "Not without a big ship and guns." He looked at his men. They were quiet and afraid. "We must be very careful with our food," he said. "Every man can have a small piece of bread and coconut today, and a cup of water. That's all. When it's cold, we can have some rum. But don't worry. Remember, I'm your captain. Listen to me, and we can stay alive." "Yes, sir." Then the youngest, a boy called Robert Tinkler, said, "I want to go home." Bligh looked at him, and for a minute the boy was afraid because Bligh was often angry. And then he saw a small, cold smile on Bligh's face. "To England, Robert?" "Yes, sir." "Well, that's about 30,000 kilometers away. So first, let's find Timor. That's much nearer. There are Dutch ships there, and they can take us home." "Yes, sir." The boy looked happier. "How far is it to Timor, sir?" For a minute, Bligh didn't answer. He looked away over the cold green sea. The wind was stronger now, and the sky was dark. "Oh, not far," he said slowly. "Only about 7,000 kilometers." Next morning, the wind got stronger and stronger. The launch went up and down over big green waves. Everyone was wet. The white water came into the launch. The sailors used the empty coconuts to throw the water back into the sea. At midday, they ate 5 small coconuts and drank some rum. And they ate some wet breadfruit in the evening. The wind and waves were strong all night, so no one could sleep. The next day, the bread was wet, but they didn't throw it away. In the afternoon it rained, and they caught the water in cups and coconuts. But it rained all night, so everyone was cold and wet. The launch was small, so they could not all sleep. Most men sat up all night. On the 8th of May, it was sunny. The men took off their wet shirts and trousers. Bligh gave them some rum, coconut milk, and 80 grams of bread. Often he talked about New Guinea, Australia, and Timor. There were storms for the next 2 weeks. Sometimes they saw the sun for an hour, but every day it rained. Big green waves threw white water into the launch. They were always wet, tired, and hungry. 3 times they saw islands, but they didn't go near them. They ate bad bread and old meat, but they had lots of rainwater to drink. When they were very wet, Bligh gave his men some rum. No one could sleep for more than 1 or 2 hours. But every hour, Bligh held a long rope over the side. The rope had knots in it. The men watched carefully. The knots went behind the launch, and Bligh looked at his watch. "We're going quickly today," Bligh told him, and he wrote in a little book. "We're going about 160 kilometers every day," he told his men. "But we can't always sail west because of the wind. So I'm sorry, but today we can only have 40 grams of bread." "Bad bread too," said one man per sail. "Yes, but it keeps us alive," Bligh answered angrily. And then he laughed. "Hey, look up there," he said. There was a bird at the front of the launch. Its small yellow eye looked at them. Carefully, 2 sailors opened their hands. Very slowly, the bird didn't move. One man put his hand on it, and the bird moved away. But at the same time, his friend caught the bird's feet and killed it. The sailors laughed and shouted. It was only a very small black and white bird, but it was food. Good food. "I caught it," the first sailor said. "No, you didn't," the other man said. "I did." "Be quiet," Bligh said. "Give it to me." And he cut the bird with his knife. He caught its red blood in a cup, and the men drank the blood. Then Bligh cut the bird into 18 pieces and put them in front of him. "Right," he said. "Friar, sit here with your back to the bird. Now, I have 1 piece of the bird in my hand." He held up a piece of its leg. "Tell me, Friar, who shall have this piece?" "Ledward," Friar said. "All right." Bligh gave the piece to Ledward, and he picked up a second piece. "And who shall have this piece?" "Paul." "All right." No one was angry because Friar couldn't see the pieces. Everyone watched. Bligh picked up the bird's head and feet. "Who shall have this?" he asked. "Bligh," Friar answered. Everyone laughed, and Bligh looked at the head and feet sadly. "Oh, well," he said, "I know it's good for me." Slowly, he began to eat them. That evening they caught a bigger bird and ate that too. Next day they caught 1 more. Everyone was happy. "Why are all these birds here?" the boy Robert asked. Bligh smiled. "Because we are near land," he said. On the 28th of May at midnight, they saw white water in front of them. "The barrier reef," Bligh said. "A line of rocks underwater. We must be careful. Ships often sink here. Take down the sail and move slowly. We must find a way through." They sailed slowly near the angry white water. Then, after about 4 hours, they found a way through. Behind the barrier reef, the sea was blue and quiet. They sailed quietly to a small island. They could sleep on the island and walk about. They began to look stronger, but they were still 2,000 kilometers from Timor, so they could not stay long. After 6 days, they went to sea again, west towards Timor. The sun was very hot, and 2 men were ill. Bligh gave them some rum and the blood of birds. But they can't live much longer in a little boat like this, he thought. We are all tired and hungry. Someone is probably going to die soon. But it was not far now, Every hour, Bligh held the rope over the side and wrote in his little book. He watched the sun and the sea and the sky, and then, on the 11th of June, Bligh said, "You cannot see it, but just south of us there's a big island called Timor." They laughed and smiled and sang, and next day they saw the island, green trees and hills. 2 days later, they came to a town called Kaupang. There were some Dutch sailors by the sea. Bligh and his men walked up to them. "Who are you?" the Dutch officer asked. "You look hungry and ill. Where are you from?" "I'm Captain William Bligh of the English ship HMS Bounty. These men are English sailors, and we left Tafua 41 days ago." "Tafua?" the Dutch officer asked. "Where is that?" "It's a small island about 7,000 kilometers away. We came in that small launch." "My God, 41 days in that!" The Dutchman looked at the launch, and for a minute he said nothing. And then he asked, "Did many of you die?" Bligh smiled. "Oh no, only one, and the islanders on Tafua killed him. 17 men left Tafua with me, and 17 men are here now, alive."